Walker as Frank Lampard after the final whistle. Gamble responsibly. See dunlewy.net.
Now you're welcome back. Great stuff there from Kevin Doyle. John Brewin, football writer, is with us to talk about All or Nothing, Tottenham Hotspur. John Brewin, you're very welcome. As I live and breathe, it has been a long time. How are you?
I'm all right, Joe. I'm all right. How are you?
Very well.
Forgive me for the lockdown look. I've yet to visit the barbers, so...
You're looking very 2020. You're right on point.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
So, All or Nothing, Tottenham Hotspur. Generally, you know, based on, well, the Juventus one is particularly pointless. The Man City one's a bit better. Generally, we approach these in-house documentaries with a fair degree of scepticism and caution. You have watched it, so potentially we don't have to. Discuss.
Okay, well, if I was going to compare it to the Manchester City one, which was, 2 years ago now, I would say it seems to be a slightly lower in production values. I'm not sure why that is. Manchester City seem to have, and I can't believe I'm saying this, they seem to have more of a story to tell despite everything that's going on there. But when I look back on the City one, the star of the show was Pep Guardiola, and there's little doubt here that the star of the show is Jose Mourinho. Now, Pep Guardiola is someone who's had quite a few films made about himself, a couple of authorised books, and I get the feeling that Jose Mourinho fancied a piece of that because it's actually the 3 episodes out so far. Pochettino is he's almost like an extra in it. He appears. There's a lot of praise for him from Daniel Levy, who it has to be said is not the most comfortable performer on TV. There's a bit where he's drinking a pint of Stella, and I'm prepared to say that I don't think Daniel Levy has ever drunk a pint of Stella before. You know, it's just this sort of attempt to be an everyman, and it doesn't quite work. Daniel Levy, a fine operator, but I would suggest he does his talking behind closed doors. Anyway, so yeah, Jose Mourinho. Now, it's a reimagining of how Jose Mourinho is as a man. Because one thing I've heard over the years is that at a certain point in his career, Jose Mourinho, having been the best manager in the world, the self-styled best-looking manager in the world, and, you know, someone who at a certain point was a juggernaut that no one could really stop, there came a point of self-doubt. And I think that he has looked at his own image and he started reading about himself. I even heard a story a while back that he read Twitter about himself, which is, as anyone knows, name search on Twitter, you're in big trouble. And when I watched this, it seems to me that Jose Mourinho is trying to be the Jose Mourinho that he remembers being written about when he was Jose Mourinho, the best manager in the world. It's like he's forgotten who he is. There's something about Jose that something was lost, I think, about the time he was at Real Madrid. And I don't think he's ever quite got back to the Inter Milan, the Chelsea first time around. I saw a lot of him second time around, and it was all an act. And I think this program, this series, is him attempting to lift the lid on what Jose is really like. But it seems to me, unlike Pep Guardiola, who there's no way that Pep Guardiola was playing up to the cameras. I think that's how Pep Guardiola actually is. I think Jose Mourinho, I mean, we've all seen, I'm sure you've seen the scene where he swears at the overdubbed Sky Sports criticism of him.
Yeah.
And it's one of the most painfully staged things I've seen. Yeah. And people who know a bit more about this than me say that there's about 5 or 6 edits where you can see they've manoeuvred this footage into it being like that. And it's all a bit staged, as these programs are. But Mourinho, I don't think is that natural a performer, and I can't help thinking that I would love to have seen a fly on the wall when he was at his pomp back at Chelsea and Inter Milan. That would have been far more interesting, because I think he's just playing at being Jose. At a certain point, he talks about how being a manager is his natural habitat and how he can't really leave the game alone, and that's what he likes to do. But I think, and personally, this is my opinion, I think most people would prefer to see him in a TV studio, because as a pundit, he's great. But as someone trying to be Jose Mourinho, I'm not sure he can do it anymore.
Interesting, because I saw Kieran Dyer was talking about it on 5 Live the other evening, and he was asked, was the documentary of interest to him, and he said yes, and he thought that Mourinho had lost his mojo, he said, at Manchester United, but he said, having seen this documentary, Mourinho is still a top manager. His man management skills are something that have been questioned, but the documentary, I thought he was fantastic, which was an interesting insight.
Yeah, I mean, you do get a bit of an insight into how he motivates players, and you know, there are these set pieces where he takes certain players into his office. There's one with Harry Kane in which he pretty much performs the speech that he gave to Frank Lampard all those years ago. You know, you can be the best player.
Were they naked? Were they naked in the office as he was?
They were not naked.
Okay,
no.
Right.
You know, they needed to get past the BBFC. So, but yeah, they're not naked. That would have been good. And then there's a similar thing with Dele Alli where he approaches him and says, "You're lazy," but it's obviously affectionate.
Yeah. And
you can see that the man management part of it. His team talks before the game where they're all in a huddle all around with each other. It's weird because every time his speech appears to be, well, we're only 6 points behind this, or we're 3 points behind them, and that seems to be the sum total about it. Apart from at one point where he says, "In 2 hours you can have your dinner," which, you know, as your Churchillian speeches go, it's not quite up there, and it isn't like the crazed figure that you would see from the Guardiola documentary. I mean, you know, years ago you would occasionally see sort of shots of Ferguson. There's about probably in total there's probably about 2 minutes of Ferguson in the dressing room, and in those moments the words are never particularly profound because in those circumstances I don't think anyone's looking for anything too complicated, but they're to the point. And Mourinho, I don't know. It seems that Mourinho is trying to motivate himself more than the players at a certain point.
Right. I have to say, and sorry, our time is a little bit short this evening. We went a bit over talking with Kevin Doyle. I have to say, on balance, then, even if it's not maybe the intention of Mourinho or the documentary makers, that sounds like an interesting watch for maybe slightly different reasons.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, of course, Mourinho's a fascinating figure, and you know, if we're to talk about other parts of the documentary, the Daniel Levy bits are a bit uncomfortable. There's an absolutely painful bit where Dele Alli is talking to some physios about the correct fashion in which you put water on your toothpaste while brushing your teeth. Now, I'll desperately work for material, but that honestly, that lasts about a minute, and you're thinking, what was left on the cutting room floor here? The Mourinho thing is fascinating because it's Jose Mourinho. He's one of the most popular, most famous, if not popular, figures in football of the last 20, 25 years. And I will watch it to see how that goes. Will be interested to see how he responds to coronavirus because, of course, at one certain point he got caught breaking the rules, didn't he? So, it'd be interesting to show that. And yeah, this is well, it's only just finished actually. It was such a strange season that it'll be interesting how they deal with that. But yeah, there is that idea. Spurs got paid £10 million for this. There is that idea that when Pochettino, when it became clear that things weren't going to work out there, that Daniel Levy, who was trying to sell the club around the world, the suspicion is that he's actually trying to sell the club at a certain point, him and Joe Lewis, the billionaire that actually owns the club, and that getting Jose Mourinho as a front man might do something to sell the club around the world to potential investors, and that's why he was brought in. And I think at the same time, it suited Jose to become the star of a TV show as well. So it's something of a marriage of convenience between them, I'd say.
These are strange times we're living in. John Brewin, good to talk to you, John. Thanks a mil.
Cheers, Joe. All the best.